Okay guys, for everyone who wants to know if hell is real, I have the answer. Yes, hell is real, and I have the story to prove it. Please note that this is not a reproduction of the original Well to Hell story that's been circulating around the internet since '97. This is actually a variation of that story. In other words, this is an American remake. The Sounds of Hell. It's just another typical day in the life of a geologist. Raymond Enders was thinking of the wonderful possibilities that lie beneath the Earth's surface. As always, he would get up at about 7 a.m. to check on his colleagues and to find out what the drill had found. The drill itself was basically a huge borehole with a drill at the end of it that drilled every 10 feet. The team was stationed at a base comprising of a bunch of tents and barracks in the wilderness of Siberia, Russia. Today's assignment was to find plate movements. So far, they found nothing. Mr. Raymond Enders barked, the head of the project, Dr. Edward Eddie Jekyll. Keep watching the monitor for signs of any interesting anomalies, Dmitri. Tell me what you hear when I get back. He then marched out for a morning stroll. Dmitri Agapov was a tall man, well over 6 feet. He was a slightly brawny man, and an expert in electronics and firearms. He even had a gun with him in case some burglar tried to steal anything from the camp. Dmitri was the guy in charge of listening to the plate movements, if there were any. Raymond was in charge of reporting Dmitri's findings to Dr. Jekyll. Then there was Tamara Andreev. She was a college graduate with green eyes, blonde hair. She was Raymond's girlfriend, and the prettiest girl on the team. Tamara had the same job Dmitri had. The two worked side by side. Raymond was eating a beefsteak sandwich when Dr. Jekyll came back. Anything? He asked. Nothing yet, boss, Dmitri replied. Then it happened. The drill began spinning violently, indicating that they hit something. Wow, Dr. Jekyll said. We've hit a cavity. The first cavity we hit since we started this whole damn operation. Raymond added, the drill was spinning noisily, making it hard for Dmitri to hear anything. Then another colleague, Yuri Glukov, came and entered the tent. Yuri was in charge of shutting the drill down when the team found something interesting. He was a brawny man, stronger than an ox. He had a very thick Russian accent. Unlike Tamara and Dmitri, he only had a hint of Russian accents. Do you need me for anything, sir? He asked. Shut that drill off, replied Dr. Jekyll. It's disrupting Dmitri from listening. I'll turn it off, said Australian colleague Neil Hamilton. Neil was a veteran of the Gulf War in '91. He also had a gun in case the camp was burglarized. But unlike Dmitri, Neil was specialized in trying to figure out what Dmitri was hearing, in case anything abnormal happened. Neil was like a younger version of the actor Robert Redford, only he had red hair. He was quite brawny, though not as brawny as Yuri. Neil went outside and looked down into the hole. He was astonished. The team had drilled 10 miles deep into the earth. At a depth like this, they could find a lot of minerals, perhaps even gold. Later, American colleague and Raymond's sister, Alexis Enders, came into the tent as Neil was shutting the drill off. Alexis was a pretty lady, too, only she had red hair like Neil did. Alexis was often paranoid about abnormal events, which made Raymond concerned. Then came Alexis's boyfriend, British colleague Josh Porter. Josh was a former Special Air Service SAS soldier. He dropped out prior to Operation Fire Magic and studied geology. Then he applied for the job as a driller. He had a thick British accent, and like Yuri, he was stronger than an ox. Put a microphone down there, said Jekyll, and Dmitri worked with Josh to lower a microphone into the hole. They took a stake, planted it to the ground, and tied wires to it. Then they dropped the microphone into the hole. When the two came back in, Tamara was picking up some strange coherences. Then she began freaking out. This cannot be right. Tamara was barking nervously. Holy Mother of God, what's wrong? Dr. Jekyll asked. It's impossible. A voice. Tamara was shouting now. Get those headphones off, cried Josh. Dmitri ran over and yanked the earphones off her head. And he turned to Josh and said, Turn up the volume. Yes, sir. Josh replied and turned the volume up by 70%. allowing everyone to hear what Tamara had heard. The static made it hard to hear, but Neil could pick up 2 phrases. Help and please. Clean that up, Dr. Jekyll, cried Jekyll. Feeling very impatient about what the voices were, Dimitri pressed the cleanup button, and everyone was stunned to silence. Screams. Terrifying screams of pain. First there was a hyper scream of like a girl scream, then came millions, maybe trillions of other screaming voices with the sound of fire in the background. The screams were so loud everyone had to cover their ears to keep their eardrums from bursting. This scream, or series of screams, if you will, sounded like something out of a horror movie. But to the entire team of geologists, the screams sounded like a bunch of people being burned at the stake underground. Then the screams got louder and louder, until it was almost unbearable. The entire tent was filled with noise. The screams were now deafening. The fire in the background almost roaring like an animal, and just like that, they died down to silence. But soon after the silence began to enchant the group, a new wave of screaming overtook them. This one louder than the first. When this one ended, there was no more. Then the ground shook beneath everyone's feet, and a huge booming voice erupted from the hole, saying, "There is no escape." Then a huge demon, wearing a pair of red horns, having blue eyes and bright blue skin, rose out of the hole. Carrying a sickle, "Enjoy your horror," it cried out in a low demonic tone, and disappeared. Then all was silent. "It sounds like people screaming in pain," Alexis commented, "and we thought it came from the microphone." "Man," Raymond said, "I guess we're all going to struggle to get some sleep tonight." "You said it," Dimitri added. Later that night. At 8 p.m. that night, Dimitri said, "I guess we should turn in for tonight." "Yeah," Raymond added. "It's been a long day." Josh was already in bed, snoring away peacefully like a baby. Tamara and Alexis were just laying in bed, wide awake, staring at the ceiling. I'll stay awake," Dimitri said, "to keep watch, alright?" Raymond said, and everyone turned in for the night, leaving Dimitri as the night watchman. But something kept ringing in Dimitri's ears. The screams were emanating from his own ears, replaying the entire thing in a loop sequence of some type. At one point, he even thought that he heard something. It sounded like, "Come back here." "Who is it?" he shouted in the darkness of night. "Who is out there?" He grabbed his gun, a Kalashnikov, AK-47, and ran outside. The voice then shouted, "Help me." "Who are you?" Dimitri was shouting. He started firing his AK-47 in full auto into the night. "Stay away from me," Dimitri cried out. "Go back to hell. All of you." He ran into the streets and saw what looked like a huge blue demon with red eyes and bright blue skin and red horns. The very same demon the team saw earlier today. "Stay away from me," Dimitri cried. "Go back to hell where you belong." Then the demon disappeared, and the Toyota Titan truck was speeding toward him like a missile. "Stop," Dimitri shouted. "You'll run me over." The truck slammed into Dimitri and he was no more. His AK-47 was the only thing left at the scene. The next morning, everyone awoke to find that Dimitri was gone. "Where'd he go?" asked Tamara. "He was here last night. Maybe something scared him into running outside and committing suicide," Josh suggested. "Right," Raymond said. "We'll find him." Jekyll said and saw it. Dimitri's AK-47 on the road was where he was last seen last night. "It's his gun." Raymond said, "Look there." Alexis shouted. Everyone turned and saw Dimitri. He was dead. A blood-soaked series of tire tracks were going down the highway from his corpse. "So," Yuri said, "he got run over. I guess the sounds of hell were heard yesterday scared him into fleeing the camp and getting himself run over." Alexis made a hypothesis. Then the demon everyone saw last night appeared smiling. "Goodbye, humans," he said, and everyone except Tamara, Alexis, and Raymond fainted in fear. Then the screaming that everyone heard yesterday returned. It was so frightening. Raymond called the police. The police arrived just in time to see the demon again. Bam. 5 or 6 policemen began shooting at him. "Be gone!" the demon shouted, and the police cars blew up. The 3 geologists fled the scene in a squad car. The sheriff hopped into the squad car and said, "Where are you guys headed?" "Just drive," Raymond said. Before that demon returns, when Raymond looked back, the demon was gone. "Looks like he's gone," said the sheriff, who turned around and saw the demon staring through the windshield. "Yikes!" Raymond said. "Have a good spring," said the demon in a ghostly tone, and he vanished, leaving everyone in the car stunned in silence. Some people think the site of the incident is haunted by both the demon and the haunting screams. Others claim to have seen the demon and hear the screams whenever they pass by the scene of the incident, but the geologists never saw it again. As for the geologists themselves, they were paranoid about the screams. Raymond and Alex even slept with each other at night because they thought the demon would attack them if they slept separately. As for Josh, Dr. Jekyll, and the others, they retired and lived quiet lives alone, but they're neighbors to each other in New York City. As for the site where the incident occurred, the demon and the screams are still said to be there, waiting someplace else to haunt people. Who knows what the next victim will be.